The Son, the creed states emphatically, is begotten, not made. Right? So they're making a big distinction here at the Council of Nicaea between these terms, which in the Bible, there's no difference in terms of temporality, okay, as I've shown. And I challenge anybody to show any example of poieo, ganao, or katizo that's not temporal. Okay, you can save your time. It doesn't exist. It's ridiculous to even create this discussion. The dragon we're talking about, confuses people. He's a liar. He gets people confused to the point where they start acting like the beast and killing people, forcing them to be a Christian or be burned alive. Okay, these are the doctrines we're getting in association with all this stuff, this ridiculous distinction between terms that ultimately make no difference. They're just different ways of the same thing. If God makes Adam out of the earth, or he makes Eve out of Adam's rib, or Cain is born after being begotten in Eve by Adam, they're all temporal. And guess what? They're all called creations in the Bible. Yeah. Even our spiritual birth is referred to as a new creation. And yet we're born again. The Creed supplies some hints stating that as begotten, the Son is out of the Father's substance, and that he is of the same substance as the Father. We know that these phrases, the latter owed its insertion to Constantine's express wish, page 233, caused embarrassment at the council to the Origenistic majority represented by Eusebius, and in his letter to the Caesarean church, he records the interpretation he was prepared to put upon them. And then he tries to explain, right, because they're humiliated by Constantine's use of a non-biblical term that is not Christian. Are we to understand of the same nature in the generic sense in which Origen was alleged to have employed homoousios, or are we to take it as having the meaning accepted by later Catholic theology, namely numerical identity of substance? That's what they mean by homoousios and Constantine's use of it at the Council of Nicaea, not earlier uses. They mean of the same substance, like he says right here. The root word ousia could signify the kind of substance or stuff common to several individuals of a class, or it could connote an individual thing as such. That's it right there. That's the difference between us. We all have separate ousias, essences, even though we have the same essence in terms of the category or type, right? Human, flesh. Spirits have the same thing. They're spirits. They have the same nature as the other in the sense of being spirits. They're not sharing the same essence like you and I would be if we were a conjoined twin, okay? A Siamese twin. Those are the two uses. Two individual ousias or essences, two human beings, two spirits, or one that in the case of the Trinity is a conjoinment of three. None of this is related to the Bible. It's all this wild philosophy that is not biblical. If it's philosophy that's biblical, great, but it's not. It's talking about even Arius, right? They're presenting time as something you can be born outside of, right? Like events, things that happen sequentially to others, born, not born, are happening somewhere where there's no measure. You can't measure one in relation to the other because you're not in time. Yeah. So when you weren't born, but now you're born, there's no time there because you're not in time. Yeah, you're out. There's this place, this thing that they invent They reify. Reify means to give existence to something that doesn't exist. Like, it would be like taking an abstraction, like love, right? And saying it's a real thing, not just an abstract feeling you have. Like some big physical heart, That's what they do. So they create an understanding that confuses people about the nature of God and how Jesus can be a son of God. These questions keep people in continuous confusion and have since this time, specifically, right? A little bit before as well and leading up to it, but it's like the persecutions by the Romans before Nero, right? There's a difference here. Now we have the state enforcing religion and doctrine, and even contributing terms that redefine the doctrine to go from one God the Father to one God who shares the essence with more than one person. And the Son is one of them, who is now eternal because he's born outside of time. Something that's not in the Bible. The Bible wouldn't make it, that's just not even a concept, right? Everything born in the Bible is temporal. Time is not a place. God's not in time or out of time. That's just an invention. They're just inventing that, everybody. Show me a text in the Bible where it says time is an actual place or a thing like a river that you're in and you can go back and forward. No, it's not. It's a measurement of events, thoughts, and positions and places and people relative to the same means of measurement. In our case, the sun, moon, and stars in our position on the earth as they all work together in predictable manner. And it's the same with God. And so they just invent these things. That's why they take John 1:1 as teaching Jesus is eternal. Oh, he's with God in the beginning. Yeah, he's outside of time there. No, it says, well, first of all, it says he's in the beginning. Beginning is temporal by definition. And secondly, that's the physical beginning of Genesis 1, where even the other sons of God are, according to Job 38 and Psalm 8. So again, it's all non-biblical. They just invent these ideas. And they try to piggyback on different philosophies, whether it's Greek philosophy or modern science, that misidentifies theoretically dimensions or things like space as time. That's not time. What time is it? Oh, okay, there's time right there. What are you talking about? That's what the Bible's talking about. When you say, what time is it? And I tell you it's 9:30 California time, that's what the Bible means. I guarantee it. Every time it's talking about time, that's what it's talking about. The time it is relative to the sun, moon, and stars and our existence relative to them. And the events that happen in sequence with each other relative to them. And the measurements that can be laid down over all of that to show when they took place relative to each other. Okay? So you can say whatever you want, just like eternal generation. You can come up with the most bizarre and retarded things ever. They are ridiculous, and they're just an excuse for you not to believe the Bible. You can say whatever you want about polytheism, sons of God. This is just an excuse for you to keep following the dragon and not inconvenience your life like people who believe the Bible. Okay, we believe explicit, clear teachings. We don't believe all this later stuff that came about through a pagan emperor who lied about this dream and how Christians conquer and was lauded like the wild beast. Are you crazy? Setting up images to the first beast, the false gods, and all these successive Christian emperors that went way overboard and incited the heathen against the Christians, which were not to do. We weren't told to go kill them and burn them alive. These are all symptoms of a dragon empire using the Christ to try to deceive the seed of the woman. Just like Jesus said might happen unless those days were cut short, mislead, if possible, even the chosen ones. The dragon's trying to do it. It's all he tries to do.